First of all, for majority of students who come to Canada, their first goal is study. So beyond they need to take care of their study firstly. However, it's Canadian university is very different compared to Chinese university, and how the Canadian education system expects students to behave that will be totally different compared to China. So the students have to understand how to manage their time to study and what's really expected here in university. For example, in Canadian university, students are expected to have a critical thinking, which does not exist in China at all. Therefore, they have just not study in the school and complete their assignment. They have to understand what critical thinking is and how to have the critical thinking through their university study. In this case, that I observed lots of students have struggled with this issue, and I suggest if it's difficult for them to critical any paper article and even have a very simple critical thinking, students have to understand and also use the professor office hours. Frequently come to see professor and discuss and ask professor to help them. And don't just assume the professor won't help them, and don't assume the critical thinking will come naturally. It comes with time and understanding of the different philosophy of education. Although the students' primary goal come to Canada to study, and no one can ignore the fact that they have to study here by their own. And in fact, many students are younger, come with a younger age, and some are only 18, 17. So they probably never been independent by their own. And in many cases, those students have been taken care of pretty well by their all family members come back to China. So they have to learn how to live independently, which is probably more challenging compared to study. Therefore, I really suggest, as my observation, the worst problem usually students will have is roommates issue, and that is going to impact their study and other mental health other mental health wellness. Therefore, I would suggest when students come to have a roommate, they have to have the standard what kind of roommate they're looking for, and they need to talk to their roommate before the roommate move in, and what they need to follow and make some basic rules with their roommate. Once, if there are any argument and a problem come between the roommates, and don't try to just fix the problem by their own. If it's necessary, they need to contact Essex, Nova Scotia, and to ask a suggestion from the tenant board to protect their right and to solve the problem properly. Majority of students come to Canada without speaking English fluently, which was also my case as well back to 10 years ago. Learning English is not as simple, just to remember the grammar rules and to remember the vocabulary. The English is easy to use and to make people to understand, however, it's harder to use as native speaking. Therefore, students should not only focus on their textbook. They should come out and try to join some association and join to some club and try to speak English with Canadian as much as possible. And also, I know it's very hard for Chinese students to come to approach to Canadian because it's just not part of our culture. And one thing during my English learning process, I think is very useful is to listening. To for example, if you sit in a coffee store and you may hear a conversation next to you between two Canadians, you probably can just by listening how they express themselves and what the word they say and what the pronunciation, by listening to other people's conversation will give a lot of idea about what really a native English would look like, and you can try to apply for the further conversation when you ever have a chance to talk to a Canadian. It's very unfortunately, in my work I haven't seen many Chinese students here are suffer from different mental issues. Some are even mental disorders. It's not a rare to see students have a struggle with mental problem. So in the case like Chinese people are not get used to discuss their feeling and are not used to ask help about emotional problem. Therefore, many students are not approaching help until they are unable to handle their emotion at all. So my suggestion is students need to learn some emotion symptoms such as depression, anxiety, and they need to understand when there are no motivation to do anything, when they get so tired they can't move at all, when they feel sadness pretty much most of the day. They need to understand that's not a good sign. It's not just being sad. That's maybe being mentally sick. So our program provide lots of workshops and to discuss mental issues, and students need to take this advantage, come to our workshop to learn what's mental health in Chinese. Whenever they observe their mental change, observe they have some mental symptoms, they can catch the symptoms at the early stage and asking help. That will take their much shorter time and energy to help them to go back to a health level.